What's up, guys? Lance, the obscure movie guy, Lance Kamikaze Fox, coming to you from SRL. There we go, trying to get everything in order. Had a power outage this morning, just now getting everything up and running, so sorry we're running a little behind schedule. But Kamikaze Fox coming to you once again from SRL. Season 10, round 17, live from Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let's run down our driver lineup real quick as we get ready to kick off this 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race. Ivan Brito on the live chat. Hello, Fox. Hello, back to you. We got Sandro Dulius in the Scuderia Ferrari, Sam Brandt in the Red Bull, Oleski in the Mercedes-AMG Petronas, George Wilkes in the Aston Martin, Ivan Brito on the live chat, and in the Mercedes-AMG, Sandro Dulius also on the live chat, Jensen Randall in the McLaren, Noel Rosa Ibiza in the Kick Sauber, Jesper Lempinen in the Visa Cash App RB, Noah Smith in the Williams, Alex Bennett-Ricchetti also in the other Kick Sauber, Andrea Latrella, who's going back-to-back wins for rounds 15 and 16. We'll see if he can do it again here at round 17. Max Mulder in the Alpine, Senna Haywire in the other Aston Martin, and Tim Ventic in the Scuderia Ferrari. That's not right, is it? No Dion Stahl today. There's Dion. I'm getting a little bit of a mix-up here on cars. So we'll have Robin Herterstegen in the Haas. Dion Stahl should be in the other Ferrari, and Tim Ventic will be in the Alpine. They'll get that situated here shortly, I'm sure. So, trying to get everything caught up here with everything that's going on. Coming off of round 16, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, Andrea Latrella was able to walk away with a pole position and backed it up with a win. That's back-to-back wins at Spa and Monza for Andrea Latrella. Oleski was second, Jensen Randall third, Tim Ventic fourth, Jerome Adamaco came home fifth, David Rod was sixth, Noel Rosa Ibiza was seventh. Dion Stahl in front of the Tifosi comes home eighth. Ivan Brito was ninth, and Sam Brandt was 10th. Jesper Lempinen, the place of his maiden pole position, unfortunately couldn't muster a better result, finishing 11th. Robin Herterstegen was 12th. George Wilkes was 13th. Nick Van Gelder, your Season 4 champion, disappointingly running in 14th. Sandro Dulius was 15th. Max Mulder was 16th. Noah Smith was 17th. And then Alex Bennett-Ricchetti and Senna Haywire were your two DNFs last week at Monza. So rough outing for some of those guys. And I think they're still trying to get the cars situated here. Jensen Randall is still your championship points leader. Pretty much has this season locked away. He's got 309 points to his credit. Second behind him with 190 points is Tim Ventic. So unfortunately, Tim Ventic probably not going to be able to close up that gap in the closing races of this season. Jerome Adamaco, who is out today, actually doing some real kart racing, has 168 points to his credit, currently running in third. Andrea Latrella, after his back-to-back wins, has jumped himself up into the points into fourth over Oleski, who's got 128 to his credit. Andrea Latrella, 143. And then Sandro Dulius has had a couple of rough outings these last few rounds. He's dropped down to sixth in points with 124 to his credit. David Rod, seventh in points with 116. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to Noah Smith and Jamie Jägerstrom. The two Williams drivers, 82 and 79 to their credit, battling it out for 8th and 9th in the championship point standings. And then there's a huge gap back to 10th. Now, 10th is where the real battle is. Noel Rosa Ibiza has 40 points. Dion Stahl not that far behind him with 36. Vincenzo Torri right behind him with 34. Juan Rivas right behind him with 29, tied with George Wilkes. Nick Van Gelder, your Season 4 champion, disappointingly in 15th with 26 points to his credit. Jesper Lempinen, 20 points to his credit. Pablo Baz, which I believe we're not going to be seeing a whole lot more for the rest of the season, 17th in points. Sam Brandt, who's actually been able to put together a couple of decent runs lately to put some points on the board, 19th in points. He's got 15 to his credit, and Ivan Brito rounding out 20th in the point standings with 10 points himself. So getting ready to kick off this 18-minute short qualifying session. We'll back it up with a 50% race. I believe that's 35 laps around this circuit. So Season 10, and celebrating Season 10, we often try to take a look back at some of the most memorable races. And this one, of course, comes from Season 4. The most memorable Canadian Grand Prix came in Season 4, of course. Again, teammates Vasilios Belasiotis and Francis McGinn had a race-long battle for the win, which Vasilios would ultimately win that race, which actually turned out to be crucial in the championship as McGinn needed those extra points desperately to keep Van Gelder from getting the upper hand. And unfortunately, that did not work out. So Nick Van Gelder, your Season 4 champion. There's also another fun fact here. Jesper Lepinen stepped in as a reserve driver for Dion at Ferrari that day, finishing P5. So one of the few times Dion was not in a Ferrari, Jesper Lepinen did step in, finishing P5 that day. So let's see if we can get some... let's see, we need some lap data. We need a track map. There's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, obviously named after the Ferrari race driver, father of 1997 world champion Jacques Villeneuve. It looks like one of the first cars out was one of the kick salvers. Looks like that might have been Noel Rosa Ibiza. So Ivan Brito, Sandro Julius, and the SRL team on the live chat. So we see a bunch of guys going out on their out laps. A little overcast. Not sure if weather is going to be a factor here for this race weekend, but I like to try and keep that under wrap. Ooh, a little sketchy coming out of the wall of champions there. It looks like he might have brushed the wall and cut the chicane at the same time, and that's actually going to invalidate his first attempt at a hot lap. So Noel is no good. You see Jensen Randall has retired from the session. Jensen Randall is going to do the Luke Smith challenge back to front. He did it last week. He started in the back of the field, finished third. So we'll see what he can do today. We'll pick up Aleski, finished second last week. He is out on his first timed lap. Whoa, and he brushes the wall. Actually, he didn't just brush the wall. He slammed the wall. I'm surprised he didn't do any wing damage or suspension damage, but you can see him struggling a little bit. He's got one of the V-carbs behind him. A little sloppy through there, and it looks like he's going to abort this lap, and that might be Andrea Latrella that just went around him. No, it was not. It was actually Jesper Lepinen who went around him. Let's pick him up. He's coming down this back straightaway. We've yet to see a time get posted here. We should start seeing them come through here. Oh, and Alexito Benarichetti, Season 2 champion, has retired from the session. I don't think that was on purpose. We see Jesper Lepinen comes across the line with a 109.856. Tim Ventic sets the first time of the day to 109.418, and that's provisional pole. Now let's go back and pick up Andrea Latrella as we see Dion Stahl comes across the line with a 110.523. Latrella coming out of the hairpin, down the back straightaway and towards the wall of champions. That chicane down here that called out a lot of drivers one year. A lot of good drivers. And Latrella is going to come across the line. And easily 109.394 over Tim Ventic. What are you doing, cat? Get out of here. Sorry, I'm fighting with my cat. So we see George Wilkes has come across the line, 109.705. Sam Brandt, 109.843. And Ivan Brito with a 1:11.137. Pick up Noah Smith out in the Williams. Looks like he's coming up on one of the Red Bulls here. It's going to be Sam Brandt getting out of the way. Lets the Williams run by. Into the hairpin. Big lock up there on the right front as he tries to get that car turned in. Power down, out onto the back straightaway. Get this long run down to the wall of champion chicane here. Oh, big turn in, another lock up on the right front. Going to come across the line. Oh, can only muster a 1:09.858. We see a caution flag flying in Sector 3. So let's see. Let's pick up Sandro Dulius. He's yet to set a time. He's in Sector 2. He's got the DRS slot open here. This is the middle part of the track. Comes out of there, comes down this dog leg straightaway, the site of Robert Kubica's crash, way back in the way back. Senna Haywire has retired from the session. I don't think that was on purpose either. So 12 minutes left to play in the session. Dooley has not set a time. Oh, big turn in there. Runs it a little wide, gets very close to the wall. Down the straightaway, and a 1:09.654. That is good enough for third quickest so far. So let's pick up Robin Hertestegen, and Andrea Latrella improves his lap time, 1:09.322. And here comes Robin Hertestegen across the line, a 1:12.795. It looks like Senna Haywire is not only retired from the session, but possibly having some internet issues. He's been retired from the session, left the session, has rejoined the session. And we've got SGT Gamer on the live chat with us once again. Always good to have him with us. So let's pick up Noel Rosa Ibiza. He's come across just starting a hot lap now. Oh, and he pancakes the wall, sliding through the chicane. We saw Oleski do that on his first out lap, actually his first timed lap. And Oleski has put up a time of 1:09.852. So, you know, first through 8 is all separated by half a second. That is really impressive. As we see Noel Rosa come through Sector 2 now. He's purple in Sector 2. Down this back straightaway. Out onto the front straightaway, but he's invalidated his lap time, so Noel's going to have to come back around and do it all over again. We'll pick up Max Mulder, one of only 2 drivers at this point who have yet to set a time. So starting with 16 drivers today. Down into the hairpin, hard braking area. Turns in, gets the power down. Max Mulder coming out of the hairpin through the dog leg and down this back straightaway. And he too invalidates his lap time. Everybody trying to get as much as they can going through that Wall of Champions complex with that chicane. And Mulder loses the back end of his car. And it looks like that's Andrea Latrella coming out of the pit area. And we see Noel Rosa is heading into the pit area. So let's pick up George Wilkes. He's on an invalidated lap time as well. How about Noah Smith? Oh, Noah Smith. Just picked him up in enough time to see him scrape the wall again. And it looks like he's fighting a loose handling race car. Whoa! And another big slide and smacks the wall right front, right rear, wing damage. Caution flag flying in Sector 2. So Noah Smith giving it all he has. So that is going to invalidate that lap time. Let's pick up Sam Brandt here in the Red Bull. 5th quickest so far, 109.843. Doesn't look like he's actually on a hot lap, but he is coming out of the hairpin. Looks like he's got a car in front of him going down the back straightaway, trying to put some heat into the tires. That's actually Sandro Dulius, and he'll start a hot lap as he comes through the Wall of Champions complex. So here we go, Sandro Dulius. Let's ride on board with him. You can see just how fast some of these sweeping corners are. Andrea Latrella improves his lap time again. Provisional pole is now a 109 flat as we get ready to see Sandro Dulius come across the line, clean through the Wall of Champions. Comes across the line, 109.091, half a second quicker over his previous time, and that puts him into second place. Let's pick up Tim Ventic. Ventic is currently in Sector 3 coming down this back straightaway, but he is no DRS slot open. He is going to head into the pits. George Wilkes is going to head into the pits. Sam Brandt is in the pits. Oleski is on an invalidated lap time in Sector 3, so he'll be heading into the pits. So let's pick up Noel Rosa. Oh, and Nick Van Gelder has joined. Oh, always late to the party. Nick Van Gelder will have maybe enough time to put in a one-shot hot lap. Looks like Noel is invalidated his lap time, so his qualifying issues continue as he is still yet to set a time. We'll pick up Max Mulder, who's just starting a hot lap. He is also yet to set a time. So Noel and Max are struggling to even get these cars across the line. And SGT Gamer saying he's assuming everybody is on a wheel. I know most of the drivers are on the wheel, and we've had some pad drivers in the past. The most recent one I know that we had was Logan Arand, and he was actually very, very quick on the pad. Gave Jensen Randall a run for his money for a couple of seasons. Actually has like 16 SRL career wins on the pad. So Logan Arand, man out of Pennsylvania, out of the United States. Unfortunately, just the American in him did not get along with the Europeans in the end and decided to walk away from F1 racing. Now concentrates his efforts on Street Fighter competition regionally and nationally in the United States. So Logan Arand still doing things on the pad as we see Max Mulder getting ready to come across the line. Finally sets a time, 1:10.402. It's not as quick as I'm sure as he would like, but he at least has a banker lap on the board. Qualifies 9th. Let's pick up Sam Brandt. What is going on here? There we go. Sam Brandt in the hairpin as we finally get this to work. Down the back straightaway, Sam Brandt in the Red Bull, 5th quickest so far. It's a great qualifying effort on his part and invalidates his time through the Wall of Champions complex. That has called out so many drivers today on good lap times. And Noel looks like he finally did get to set a time After all that, 109.735. Now, I thought he came across and it showed red on the timing and scoring. It was invalidated, so. Good on Noel, 5th quickest. That knocks Sam Brandt down a peg into 6th. So 3 minutes left to play in the session. We see Tim Ventic is coming out on an out lap. He is down this back straightaway trying to put some heat in the tires. Looks like he has a Lesky behind him. So Tim Ventic. It's probably going to be a last-ditch effort as we run down 2:30 left to play in this session. I mean, realistically, he does have enough time to do another lap if he wants to try. But the tires might be worn out and too hot to do that as we see him come out of that first chicane and almost brush the wall. We've seen a lot of drivers do it there. He cut the first part of that chicane just a little tight. Didn't invalidate his lap time as of yet, but he's definitely using all of the track. So it looks like he is going to abort this actual timed lap, and he is going to try it one more time. And Andrea Latrella is on a hot lap as well. Looks like he's going to try and just to improve his time. Maybe he wants to crack that 108. Since he went 109.001, he definitely wants to try and get into that 108. We're going to stick with Tim Ventic here. Sandro Dolius is currently on an out lap. So we got a lot of guys on out laps and time laps as time is winding down here. Qualifying is heating up. Ventic still running that just a little wide. He's got one of the V-carb cars behind him. Nick Van Gelder is actually on an out lap, so he did get into the session in just enough time to get the car out. And he's on an out lap. We'll pick him up real quick, see where he's at. And he's going to be cutting it a little close, if you ask me, to try and get a timed lap on the board. Caution flag flying sector 3. Tim Ventic down into the hairpin. He's gone purple in sector 2. DRS slot open. He's going to have a whole gaggle of cars right in front of him getting ready to start. Timed laps. He's coming down to the wall of champions. Gets through there cleanly. Does not invalidate his lap time. You see Sandro Dolius go by. You see Andrea Latrella go by. Tim Ventic comes by and does not improve his position, but does improve his time. 109.177. That keeps him in third. There's Andrea Latrella. He is right behind Sandro Dolius. Actually, no, he's behind Dion Stahl as they head through Sector 1. Dolius is coming down this back straightaway. Dolius does not have the DRS slot open. Time is up. And Sandro is going to call it a day. Could not improve his time. Tim Ventic could not improve his time. Jesper Lempinen out of nowhere, 109.298. Good enough for fourth. George Wilkes is on an invalidated lap time. Let's pick up Nick Van Gelder, see what he's got going on. Time is up. Hot laps will count. Nick Van Gelder blows the corner. It doesn't matter. Nick was giving his all. It didn't invalidate the lap time, ironically, but he's going to come across the line 113.765. So he gave it everything he had, lost it at the Wall of Champions. So that's going to do it. A great qualifying effort by Andrea Latrella and Sandro Dolius. That is a front row start for Sandro in a long time. Andrea Latrella with another pole position, a 109 flat, could not break into the 108s. Great qualifying effort by Jesper Lempinen. We talked about it earlier. He finished P5 here before filling in for Dion Stahl. So starting P4 for him, that is a big deal. So SGT Gamer asking if the traction control and ABS are turned off in the lobbies, and they are not. You are allowed to use the traction control and ABS all you want, and I'll dive into that in just a second. Starting lineup: Andrea Latrella, Sandro Dulius, Tim Ventic, Jesper Lempinen, George Wilkes, Oleski is 6th, Noah Smith is 7th, Noel Rosa Abiza 8th, Sam Brandt falls to 9th, Max Mulder 10th, Ivan Brito 11th, Dion Stahl 12th, Robin Herderstein 13th, and 14th is Nick Van Gelder. Jensen Randall, Senna Haywire, and Alex Benarichetti. Jensen retired early, going to try the back-to-front challenge. Senna Haywire crashed out, and Alex Benarichetti, I believe, crashed out as well. So as this resets, to answer your question, yes, SGT Gamer, the ABS and traction control are able to be used. Some drivers use all of those things. Some drivers use one of those things. I know Nick Van Gelder uses none of those things. Truly, the better you get at the game, the less that those assists come off, because with those assists on, it does actually take power from the car. So ABS not as much as the traction control, but the traction control, with the traction control on, it does take power from the car. So, but once you play and get a little bit better, those things get turned down and you get a little bit quicker, and then eventually they turn off. Me personally, I got to have me some traction control and braking. I don't have a wheel, and I suck at the game to begin with. So, as Murray Walker once said, there's people that do it, and then there's people that can't do it, so they talk about it. And I'm one of the talkers. And I'm paraphrasing there. I don't remember the exact quote, but I am paraphrasing there. So we'll wait for the game to reset. Looks like sunshine for the race. It was a little overcast during qualifying, but it looks like the clouds have moved out. Sun has set in, and we're ready for a 50% race. That's 35 laps around here. The Circuit Chile Villeneuve will run down the driving order starting lineup one more time. On the formation lap, Andrea Latrella, back-to-back wins at round 15 and 16. That's Spa and Monza. Going to try and go back-to-back here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve today. Sandro Dulius, one of his best starting positions in a long time. Hopefully he can stay up front, put some points on the board, maybe get a podium, make up for some of the ground that he's lost in the championship point standings these last few races. Tim Ventix, your Season 5 champion, second in the championship point standings. Little to no chance of closing that gap in the remaining races, but wants to hang on to that second place in the points over Jerome Adamaka, who is not racing today. Jesper Lempinen, his best finish here is P5. Did that in Season 4, filling in for Dion Stahl in the Ferrari. Starting in P4 today, looking to try and do that again. George Wilkes had a crash in Spa and is looking to make up some points and ground in the championship point standing, starting in the 5th position. Oleski was second last week. He's going to be looking to try and do that again, work his way to a podium position and possibly a win. Noah Smith, we saw, had struggles in the qualifying, did manage to qualify 7th, though. He's going to want to try and work his way up through the field. Noel Rosa Abiza struggled as well. He'll be starting in the 8th position. And Sam Brandt has a couple of 10th place finishes this year, putting some points on the board for Red Bull. He's going to be starting in the 9th position. Hopefully he can stay in the points. And Max Mulder has been struggling a little bit this year, more than usual. You see him doing the Michael Schumacher celebration to try and put heat in the tires, and that's why we don't do that. Ivan Brito doing the Kimi Räikkönen approach. Be starting in 11th. Dion Stahl will be 12th. Robin Herderstegen starting in the 13th position. Your Season 4 champion, Nick Van Gelder, starting in 14th. Jensen Randall, your 3-time SRL F1 champion, be starting in the 15th position, trying the back-to-front challenge. Senna Haywire is 16th, and your Season 2 champion, Alex Benarichetti, starting in 17th position. So we'll wait for the game to reset, and Ivan Brito has left the session. Now, at least it's at the start of this race. He should be able to rejoin Ivan Brito's car. We'll go AI and 5 red lights. Lights out, time to run what you brung. They're away in a puff of smoke. That's a good start by Andrea Latrella. Sandro Dulius spins the wheels really bad coming off the line. He's going to lose a position to Tim Ventic immediately. And Jesper Lempinen is trying to get around Sandro, but he's going to lose out to Oleski as they go side by side into this next corner. Jesper Lempinen cuts across his nose and retains that 4th position. Meanwhile, in the back, you got Noel, who's moved up into 6th, and everybody's single file. Noah Smith is 8th, George Wilkes 7th, and a fairly clean start here in the first couple of chicanes. You see Dion Stahl losing a spot to Jensen Randall, and Jensen Randall already up into 11th. Nick Van Gelder up into 13th over Ivan Brito, whose car has gone AI. Ivan Brito has just rejoined the session. He'll regain control of that car and see what he can make happen. Alex Bennett-Ricchetti in the Kick Sauber, and Senna Haywire in the Mercedes bringing up the rear, and they're nose to tail as they head into the hairpin. Andrea Latrella with Tim Ventic right behind him. Sandro Dulius in 3rd. And here comes the train of cars. A great start for Latrella. Sandro Dulius loses out a spot, and a great start for Jesper Lempinen as we all head down into the Wall of Champions. And everything's... Oh, and you see it's the Max Mulder there with a big twitch. Smacks the wall. Dion Stahl's going to get to the inside of him and make that pass. Heading into turn 1, cuts across the nose. Mulder's trying to come back. And ultimately, Mulder is going to lose that spot out to Dion Stahl. And now Jensen Randall doing the back-to-front challenge. Started in 15th. He is up into 9th and has set sights on Sam Brandt. Meanwhile, we've got a virtual safety car. And that might be for Senna Haywire in the back here. Oh, Senna has had an issue. Looks like probably at the Wall of Champions. Lost the complete front wing to his car. The virtual safety car probably won't last very long. We see the varying pit strategies pop up here. Hards to mediums for 1 stop, hards to medium for 2 stop. Pretty sure everybody's going to go the 1 stop strategy unless there's a full course caution and we get the full safety car. Tim Ventic trying to stick with these guys. So we get a little bit of a pack separation here, and race control DRS is enabled. We're back to green flag racing down the straightaway. We see Jensen Randall on the timing and scoring is making a move on Sam Brandt to take that 9th position. Looks like we've got a battle back here. That's Noel Rosa Ibiza and Oleski for the 5th position. Noel thought about making a move. Cut back in line. So the top 6 cars are separated by, well, as you can see, that much. So Andrea Latrella, who's gone back-to-back, hasn't been able to really step away from Tim Ventic. Ventic still within half a second, plus the DRS, so that's going to help him through some of these sections here. And now these guys are starting to separate themselves from Sandro Dulius here. Sandro under threat from Jesper Lempinen. Jesper Lempinen, a crowd favorite. Actually, I'm surprised Whippo Film's not on the live chat watching and chatting. He's usually here to cheer on old Jesper Lempinen. And Jensen Randall making a move around Noah Smith for the 8th position. So, wow, these guys, look at that. Jesper Lempinen, fastest lap of the race. Now Jensen Randall, fastest lap of the race. All in the 111s, though. So race pace right now, looks like everybody's running really good race pace. Obviously, Jensen a little bit quicker than everybody else. And starting to get a 4-car breakaway. Oleski, he's, let's say a 5-car breakaway. Oleski's still part of this battle. Oh, he just had a big slide coming out of that corner, though. Lost a little bit of ground. His DRS slot is open. Managed to keep 0.6 of a second over Noel Rosa Ibiza. And then Senna Haywire just picked up a 3-second time penalty. Got a caution flag flying in Sector 3. And it looks like that might have been a quick on-off. So out onto the back straightaway. Tim Ventic's going to have the DRS slot open. Andrea Latrella is going to take a very defensive line. And that is almost perfect car placement by Latrella. And it looks like Jesper Lempinen trying to get out of line, maybe make a move on Sandro Dulius. Tim Ventic trying to make a move on Andrea Latrella. And the V-Carb cars are battling hard here with an Alpine and a Ferrari. A little bit of a twitch there coming out of the corner for Sandro Dulius, and that's going to let Jesper get to the gearbox, and Jesper, no, that's Latrella. Latrella's gone off at the first chicane. He pulled a Sebastian Vettel and went off, and now that puts him behind Jensen Randall, and he's about to lose another spot. And George Wilkes thinks better of it. So Latrella, trying to not lose any more spots, went from first to seventh. That allowed Jensen Randall to get up into sixth, and now Jensen Randall's going to set his sights on Noel Rosa Ibiza. Meanwhile, that puts Tim Ventic out in front to the tune of almost a second over Sandro Dulius, and that moves Jesper Lempinen into third place. And Oleski in the Mercedes. So a lot of drivers got to capitalize on that. Here comes Jesper Lempinen trying to get to the inside of Sandro Dulius, and he's going to get there down the back straightaway. Jesper Lempinen up into second place. A great run for him here in the first 5 laps of this race. We see a battle going on in the back. That's Dion Stahl getting around Max Mulder for the 11th position. Sam Brandt still hanging on to that 10th spot. Ivan Brito getting around Robin Herderstagen. Robin Herderstagen and Senna Haywire, both drivers with timing penalties, and we see SGT Gamer on the live chat saying the pressure got to Latrella. I don't know that the pressure got to him. I will say Latrella doesn't often make a mistake, but I think that's really just what it was. Dived it in there a little too hard, and looks like Latrella is fighting back as he just got around Noel Rosa Ibiza, moves him up into the 6th position. Meanwhile, Jensen Randall closing the gap down to Oleski. And let's hop on board with Jensen. Oh, and Oleski blows the corner. And a 3-second timing penalty for Noah Smith. The timing penalties are going to start coming in hot and heavy for some of these guys. And that moves Jensen Randall up into the 4th position. He's going to set his sights on Sandro Dulius. Meanwhile, Tim Ventic has pulled out to a 1.3-second lead over Jesper Lempinen. So Tim Ventic has separated that gap. Jesper Lempinen, though, he's actually closed up here in the first couple of corners. Jensen's probably going to make a move here over Sandro, get that DRS slot open. Sandro's not going to defend too terribly hard, doesn't want to get offline. He'll have to preserve that position. Big twitch there coming out of the corner for Jensen Randall. A little bit of a mistake on his part, went wide there. And we see Tim Ventic has lost ground to Jesper Lempinen. And Ivan Brito picking up another 3-second timing penalty. So a lot of these guys are going to have multiple penalties at the end of this race. Could swap up the finishing order a little bit depending on what's going on. Tim Ventic, your leader, as they come across the line to start lap 8. Jesper Lempinen has closed the gap down to him by nearly 0.7 of a second. The gap last time by was 1.3. It's now down to half a second. Jesper Lempinen running a fantastic race so far. Every dog has his day, and maybe today is the day for Jesper Lempinen, but Sandro had to give up the position to Jensen Randall, and Jensen Randall has closed the gap down to these guys. Jensen Randall, what can you say? He's well beyond the limits of the competition that SRL provides, unfortunately. He does do a lot of behind-the-scenes work for SRL, so I don't want to discredit him. But I think we can all agree that Jensen Randall, winningest driver in SRL history, every major category in racing, most wins, most points, most podiums, most championships, most fastest laps, most pole positions. It's all Jensen Randall, as we see Jesper Lempinen get around Tim Ventic, and Ventic blows the Wall of Champions chicane, and that's going to allow Jensen Randall to get around him as they head down into turn 1. So Jensen Randall up into second place. Jesper Lempinen leading the way. I can't tell you the last time he led a race. Actually, it probably would have been Monza in his maiden pole position. back in season 5, I think that was. And George Wilkes picks up a 3-second timing penalty. And Jensen Randall's going to have the DRS slot open down in this short chute here. And he's going to cut back in line, so he'll save his pass for the back straightaway into the Wall of Champions complex. And we'll see here, DRS slot open. There's not going to be a whole lot Jesper can do. He'll make him go around the outside, but that's it, one and done. That'll be the last time you see Jesper Lempinen leading this race. Jensen Randall out in front, and I mean immediately half a second over Jesper Lempinen. So the battle for second is on as Senna Haywire picks up another 3-second timing penalty, and Senna Haywire has crashed out and has caused a safety car. So it really goes to show the disparity between competition. And I'm going to try and be as respectful as possible. You have somebody like Jensen Randall, 53 career race wins, 3 championships. Like I said, holds the record in SRL for every major category. Obviously the fastest driver on track. Well beyond the competition of what is provided here in SRL. Then you have guys like Senna Haywire, who I've said it for a number of seasons now, is really just a moving roadblock, and does not provide any type of competition amongst the drivers except for them trying to dodge him. So it's been a point of contention with mine. I know every driver should have an equal opportunity and all that fun stuff, but at a certain point you just have to know, either as a driver, you're not made for this, or as a president or league owner, that, hey man, you are not competitive enough to be in our league. Perhaps look for a league that you would be more competitive in, but it is not this one. So we're going to see just about everybody coming to the points. Oh, 10-second timing penalties coming in. Severe collision for Noel Rosa with Noah Smith. And then I saw one for George Wilkes as well. I don't know if that was speeding into pit lane. So things are getting crazy. And it looks like Max Mulder stayed out on track. And he's, even with Max staying out on track, not quick enough to get in front of Jensen Randall. Oh, and Max Mulder drive-through penalty, speeding under the safety car, so all for naught. He tried to get out in front of Jensen and couldn't make it happen. So unbelievable. And the amount of penalties we see here now, the list of drivers that don't have a penalty is a little shorter. So this is going to switch up the tire strategy just a little bit. So let's take a look here at the tire strategy. Jensen's going to be on the mediums because he did start on the hards. Max Mulder's going to be inconsequential because he's going to have to pit, and he's got a timing penalty on top of that. So everybody that was on mediums has switched to hards. Everybody that was on hards has switched to mediums. So a little bit of an altering tire strategy up front. I don't think it's going to be... Jensen's really good at... I mean, he's going to be able to manage the race at this point. He knows he's a faster driver than Jesper. Jesper Hughes I'm going to go with. But he's faster than Jesper and Tim. Those guys are probably going to battle it out. That's going to allow Jensen to walk away. He's going to be able to manage his medium tires. He'll be able to make them last to the end of this race. That's just how good Jensen Randall is. That is... He's got the race pace. Doesn't matter what kind of tire he's on. I know SGT Gamer on the live chat thought that maybe with him pushing so hard early on, but Jensen is a very intelligent driver. He knows exactly when and where on track to push, and even on hard tires. I mean, Jensen on hard tires is faster than most drivers on full softs. He's just that good. So Jensen, it's not going to be much of a race for the lead. He's going to be able to walk away. What's going to happen here is once Max Mulder gets out of the way, you're going to have Jesper Lempinen and Tim Ventic are going to battle it out for the second position, which is ultimately going to cost some time to the leader, Jensen Randall, so that's going to allow him to walk away with the lead of this race. And then you're going to have a really good fight between Jesper, Tim, Oleski, Sandro, and Andrea Latrella for the second and third podium spots. So the battle for second and third and the midfield battle is going to be really interesting to watch. Jensen Randall's going to do what Jensen Randall does, and the safety car's coming in this lap. And another driver I want to keep an eye on, I'm going to be talking about Sam Brandt and Ivan Brito battling it out for that 10th spot. They're both going to want to put some points on the board. Sam Brandt, who's been kind of making his return to SRL racing after a couple years sabbatical, he's been continuously improving throughout the course of this year, and he's been able to really put in some solid runs for, whether it be 9th or 10th, he's still getting them points on the board, and he's been improving each and every race. Ivan Brito's always a fan favorite, and he always puts up some really good defensive driving. Ivan Brito's really a mixed bag when it comes to some things, so... But back to green flag racing, we see Jensen Randall already starting to pull away from Max Mulder. Max Mulder's got that drive-through penalty hanging over his head. So really he probably should have just came in and served that, because now Max Mulder is ultimately, and he is going to get out of the way. I don't know if he blew the corner or if he's just going to let everybody go. So that's that for Max Mulder. We'll pick up Jesper Lempinen with Tim Ventic right behind him. And Jensen Randall already out in front to the tune of 1.3 seconds. So you see this battle here for second, though. Tim Ventic, Jesper Lempinen, Oleski, Sandro Dulius, and Andrea Latrella. And he's got George Wilkes all over the back of him. Wilkes thought about making a move. Not close enough for that. Meanwhile, Tim Ventic all over the back of Jesper Lempinen as they head down into the hairpin. And actually, let's get rid of this tire detail. Oh, I didn't want to do penalties. Well, you can see some of the penalties there. Caution flag flying in sector 3. Looks like that might be for Alex Benarichetti. Might have had an issue at the hairpin. Doesn't look like he's got any damage. Might have just lost the back end. Maybe had some help going around, but go back to this battle for second. Robin Herdersteigen picks up another 3-second timing penalty. So Jesper Lempinen, I don't want to say he's holding up Tim and Oleski, but he has allowed them to catch him. But Tim's been able to get to Jesper. He hasn't been able to get around Jesper, even with the DRS in some of these areas. Meanwhile, Andrea Latrella. So you've got this gap. You've got these three cars here. You've got Jesper Lempinen, Tim Ventic, and Oleski. They are battling it out. Then you've got Sandro Dulius, who's kind of separated himself in between these two battles, because behind him you've got Andrea Latrella and George Wilkes with Noel Rosa Ibiza battling it out. Now Sam Brandt, he's been battling it with Noah Smith. Noah Smith just got around him for the 9th position. It's kind of sloppy though, and Sam was able to hang on to it. Meanwhile, it looks like Tim Ventic is making the move on Jesper down at the Wall of Champions complex. So Tim Ventic up into second, Jesper Lempinen into third, and Oleski just picked up a 3-second timing penalty. So as close as some of these guys are driving at the end of this race, some things are going to happen. It looks like Dion Stahl on timing and scoring just got around Ivan Brito for the 11th position. Now, can Tim separate himself from Jesper and maybe start closing that gap down to Jensen Randall? Hard to believe so much has happened in this race, and we still have 20 laps to go. We're only working lap 15 of 35. Tim Ventic and Jesper, actually, he's got the DRS slot open. He's going to close that gap back up. And it looks like Nick Van Gelder is now getting around Ivan Brito. So Ivan Brito struggling a little bit here in the back. Nick Van Gelder just got around him for the 12th position. Oh, and Ventic runs a little wide. That's going to open the door just a little bit for Jesper. Couldn't get in there. DRS slot's going to be open. Is the car trimmed out enough to try and make a move down this back straightaway? Jensen Randall out in front to the tune of 3 seconds. Here goes Jesper. Oh, and Jensen Randall picks up a 3-second timing penalty as Jesper gets the move done heading into the chicane for the Wall of Champions, and he's back out in front. Well, he's back out in front of Ventic. He's in second place. So now there's a little bit of an interesting battle here. He's 3.1 seconds behind Jensen. If he could actually close that gap to under 3, not pick up a timing penalty himself, he's still looking at potentially winning this race. But I think that Wall of Champions chicane is really where a lot of guys are getting caught out. I mean, it's a very hard chicane to take. It looks like you can take it faster than you can, and that's damaging on both sides of the corner, because if you turn in too early, you're in the wall. Actually, if you turn in too early, you cut the corner, and that's possibly going to throw you out towards the wall. If you turn in too late, you're cutting the corner the other way, and you're too far away from the wall, but you're going to cut the chicane in either way. We see Tim Ventic get back around Jesper Lempinen. Here comes Aleski, and Aleski gets in there, and Jesper Lempinen loses 2 spots on that straightaway, and that puts him into the 4th position now. Tim Ventic up into 2nd. No timing penalty for him so far. And Aleski with a timing penalty up into 3rd. And Sandro Dulius has been able to hold off Andrea Latrella this whole time, still hanging on to that 5th spot. So Latrella, who was leading the way until he had that big mistake right here, this first chicane, hasn't been able to make up the spots. Noah Smith with another timing penalty. Timing penalties are going to be George Wilkes with another timing penalty. And Noel getting around George Wilkes for the 7th position through that exchange. So the timing penalties are going to just absolutely throw a wrench into everything for these guys. Meanwhile, Jensen Randall, even though he's got a 3-second timing penalty, he has now been able to separate himself by 4 seconds over Tim Ventic and Aleski. And this battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th continues. And SGT Gamer pointing out possibly some wing damage on Noel's car. So let's pick that up. And a 10-second penalty speeding into pit lane, Noah Smith. And Noah Smith is going to leave the session. He says the hell with it. I'm calling it a day. Caution flag flying in Sector 3. And there does not appear to be any end plate damage on that on that kick salver. So unless he was talking about Alex Benarichetti, but we haven't looked at him in quite some time, and looks like his car is clean and running in 14th. So Jensen Randall still your leader. Tim Ventic trying to hold off Aleski and Jesper Lempinen. Oh, and look at this. Andrea Latrella trying to get to the inside of Sandro Dulius. A deep dive into the hairpin. And Sandro is... That was a little bit of give and take there. I think Andrea Latrella knew he put that car in there a little too late and kind of gave the position back to Sandro, and he's going to retake it here on this back straightaway. So we head through the Wall of Champions. Looked like Noel slid through there. And that big slide through there actually, and it looks like some more give and take there on Noel's part. So Sandro loses the spot to Andrea Latrella finally. You see Jesper Lempinen as we hopped on board real quick. Now we're going to have 2 of the Visa Cash App RBs, the V-Carbs. I don't think there's going to be any team orders here. Andrea Latrella, I don't think, was a full-time driver at the beginning of this year, so I don't know that Jesper will put up a whole lot of fight. He knows Andrea is a very fast driver, as we see Aleski trying to make the move on Tim Ventic, and he is going to get it done before the chicane at the Wall of Champions. Jesper Lempinen hanging on to that 4th position. He would love to get that 3rd position back, get himself back on that podium. That'd be a huge, huge day for Jesper Lempinen to get a podium. And I can't believe the guys that usually tune in to watch Jesper, I haven't heard them say anything on the live chat. If they're not watching, I can't believe it that they're not going to be here for what could possibly be a podium finish for their driver. An SGT gamer who's been watching along with us says he's got a bounce, unfortunately, but be sure to go over to Instagram, follow SRL. It's at SRL_F1 for all of the news and notes after the race, post-race penalties, and anything heading into next week's race. SGT, always good to have him along with us here on the live chat. One day he will be in SRL. Hopefully next season he'll be in as a reserve driver. Maybe, possibly in the future, do some commentating as well, as we see Tim Ventic get back around Oleski, and a big twitch there and a good run coming out of there for Jesper Lempinen. He's going to get to the inside of Oleski as they head down into turn 1, and Jesper Lempinen back up into the podium in 3rd spot, and he's taking a run at Tim Ventic for the 2nd spot. Working lap 21 of 35, and this battle is 5.5 seconds behind Jensen Randall, who does have a 3-second timing penalty hanging over his head. So he's only got 1 penalty hanging over his head. A lot of these other drivers have multiple penalties and big penalties hanging over their head. We started with 16 drivers. We're now down to, we started with 17 drivers. We're now down to 15. Senna Haywire and Noah Smith both DNF. And I don't know if Noah Smith crashed out or decided to retire the car in the pit lane. In either way, he had a 10-second timing penalty heading into the pit lane. I don't know if maybe he hit the wall going into the pit lane. And we see Ivan Brito picking up another 3-second timing penalty, and Oleski with another 3-second timing penalty. So Oleski now, multiple 3-second timing penalties, and that is going to hurt him as he tries to battle it out. And Sam Brandt with a 3-second timing penalty. So the finish of this race, as far as this mid-pack battle, is going to be shaken up so bad by in-race penalties. The unofficial finishing order is going to look absolutely crazy. We continue to watch this battle between Tim Ventic, Jesper Lempinen, and Oleski, and Andrea Latrella, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and essentially 6th. Sandro Dulias is still a part of this as well. And George Wilkes has come to join the party, and he's bringing his friend with him, Noel Rosa Ibiza. Meanwhile, Sam Brandt running all by his lonesome in 9th. He is 6.5 seconds back from that battle, and he is almost 10 seconds in front of Dion Stahl. So, and it looks like we've got George Wilkes is hitting the pit lane. I'm not sure why he's coming in. So that's actually going to move Sam up into the 8th position. So just so you know, Jensen Randall does still exist. He is 6 seconds out in front all by his lonesome. And then you've got this multi-car battle going on here for essentially the 2nd spot. You've got Tim Ventic, your Season 5 champion, running in the 2nd position. You've got Jesper Lempinen, who I couldn't tell you the last time, if ever, he's been on a podium. He did finish P5 here back in Season 4, filling in for Dion Stahl in one of the Ferraris. But this would be an amazing race result for Jesper Lempinen. And then you've got Oleski in the Mercedes. He's got multiple 3-second timing penalties hanging over his head. Then you've got Andrea Latrella, who's won the last 2 races in a row. Not going to win today's race, but he would love to finish on the podium as we see Jesper Lempinen get around Oleski for that 2nd position. Great move by him. Tim Ventic down into 3rd, Oleski 4th. Andrea Latrella still can't find a way around Oleski for that 4th position. And then you have Sandro Dulias kind of biding his time, kind of maintaining his pace with this pack of cars. He doesn't really want to get involved in the battle, but wants to stay just in touch with him enough in case there's a mistake he can capitalize on it. Then you have Noel Rosa Abiza running all by his lonesome right now, 2-second gap back to him. And then you have Sam Brandt just kind of chugging along, doing what Sam Brandt does. This is what we've been talking about. You know, he's come back from a sabbatical of a couple seasons. You know, he did really well when SRL was running the GT3 series on Project Cars 2, and there is rumors that they may start the GT3 series up again, but possibly on a different game. I know some people had said something about Gran Turismo 7. I know some people are looking at Assetto Corsa, Competizione. Not sure that there's any official word on that yet, but Sam Brandt did the GT3 series for a couple seasons with SRL, concentrated on that instead of the Formula One aspect, and now making his comeback this year. He's slowly and surely progressed. We had him in the booth a couple times, unfortunately because of a DNF, but putting points on the board is key, and he's been doing that. And then you've got Dion Stahl. He's actually kind of battling it out here with your Season 4 champion, Nick Van Gelder, for the 9th spot. Now, Nick doesn't have a timing penalty. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little surprised he doesn't have a timing penalty. But he came into qualifying very, very late, was unable to set a competitive qualifying time. Started deep in the field, I think 13th position. And methodically has worked his way into 10th with no timing penalties. And realistically, if he can get around a couple of these drivers without a timing penalty cast onto him, he could really capitalize and move his way up a couple of spots for sure. So let's go back to this battle up front here. This is a battle for second. So 10 laps to go. Tim Ventic running in second, Jesper Lempinen in third, Oleski is fourth. Now these guys have broken away from Andrea Latrella. Latrella looks like he may have burnt up his tires a little bit trying to stay with that pack. So he's fallen back, and Sandro Dolius is actually closing the gap on him for that 5th position. Now Sandro, one of the few drivers that does not have a timing penalty, and we know Oleski has at least 2 3-second timing penalties hanging over his head. So as they would finish now, Latrella and Sandro Dolius would capitalize on that and gain a couple of spots. Whoa, and a big slide there by Oleski as he comes out of the chicane. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, and he slides, and I think he might have brushed the wall there with the left rear tire. That's a great shot there. And then we got Noah Smith on the live chat. I got front wing damage twice from people making mistakes in front of me. And good luck with the rest of the race. So I guess Noah Smith, frustrated with today's events, decided to call it a day, drove into pit lane, and decided to retire the car. And that can be frustrating. Noah Smith is a fast driver. He has shown flashes of speed throughout the course of the season. He's battle it out with his teammate, Jamie Jägerstrom, a lot this year. They're, 6th and 7th in points or something like that, one right behind the other. So Noah Smith retiring early, unfortunately, out of frustration. As we see Jesper Lempinen get around. Oh, and Jesper Lempinen, there it is. He picks up a 3-second timing penalty. That was his ace in the bag. He didn't have a timing penalty hanging over his head. So now the battle for second is surely going to go to Tim Ventic, as long as Tim himself doesn't pick up a timing penalty. And now Andrea Latrella picks up a 3-second timing penalty. So everybody has at least one. A lot of drivers have multiple timing penalties. The finishing order is not going to be what comes across his line. Oh, and Sam Brandt, another driver who did not have one, now picks up a 3-second timing penalty running in the 8th position. Now, that may be inconsequential to his finishing position as we see Tim Ventic get back around Jesper Lempinen for that 2nd position. And Oleski, now we know Oleski has at least 2 3-second timing penalties hanging over his head. Really, all Sandro needs to do is just maintain his pace and stick within these drivers, and Sandro is going to find himself on the podium, because he does not have a timing penalty. Now, that could all change the second he gets one, but as it stands right now, Sandro would go from 6th to probably 3rd, little to no issue, and pick up a podium. So this is where Sandro, this is the Alan Prost in him, if you will. He knows He's methodical about where he needs to be. So he's kind of maintaining his gap. He knows he's going to get these extra points. He can see that these guys are picking up timing penalties. So he's probably listening to the broadcast. So he knows he just needs to be within touch. And we see George Wilkes pick up another 3-second timing penalty. Now he's running in the 11th position. We see Robin Herterstegen is in the pits. He's going to pit from 12th. He's probably going to come out in 14th. So there's only 3 drivers who have yet to get a timing penalty, and that is Tim Ventic running in the 2nd position. That is Sandro Dulius, who we were just talking about, in the 6th position. And Oleski picks up another 3-second timing penalty. That's 9 seconds. Oleski is looking to lose any chance of a podium position. And then the only other driver that does not have a timing penalty so far is Nick Van Gelder, which I'm really surprised about. And that's not a knock against the Season 4 champion. Nick generally likes a very, very, and I don't know why. He loves a loose handling race car. He loves sliding it around. It's cannot be the most efficient way to handle a Formula One car, but somehow Nick Van Gelder makes it work. He does not have a timing penalty, and he's caught Dion Stahl, so he can get around Dion cleanly and move himself into the 9th position, and then he doesn't have much to contend with. He could run by his lonesome and probably gain another couple of spots without having to do anything because of all these timing penalties that are going to be handed out at the end of this race. But the drivers are still going to rage on. Even if you have 9 seconds worth of penalties, you still want to finish and cross that line in front of everybody that you can, just to let them know I was faster than you today despite my penalties. We see Jesper Lempinen get back around Tim Ventic for that 2nd spot. We've got a caution flag flying in Sector 1. Looks like that's going to be for possibly Alex Benarichetti. And it looks like he's had an off. He's avoided any contact with anything, but he is now going to be in the way. Whoa! And that's Jensen Randall, who just blew through that chicane. Oh my, he definitely brushed the wall for sure. So Jensen Randall. Now, I don't know if that was from trying to get around the car of Alex Benarichetti, or if his tires are just kind of worn out at this point. He is on mediums, which he really hasn't had to race anybody, so the tire life should be good. And oh my Lord, another timing penalty for Oleski. If I'm keeping count correctly, that is 12 seconds worth of penalties coming to him at the end of this race. Good Lord. Oh, and 10-second penalty, corner cutting and gaining 1 place. Good Lord, Oleski. I don't know what is happening right now. And Tim Ventic gets around Jesper Lempinen for the 2nd position. Jesper actually gets a good run coming out of that corner down this front straightaway. He doesn't have the DRS, but he's got a little bit of a slipstream. And these guys are catching lap traffic. This is Benarichetti. And he is going to let them guys go, try and get out of the way. 3-second timing penalty for Sam Brandt. Woof. What is it about Circuit Gilles Villeneuve? It brings out the best and worst in some of these drivers. And Benarichetti, he's got no choice but to do some lawn work. And caution flag flying in Sector 2. That's probably for Benarichetti. Oh, and he just lost the car trying to get the power back down. And here comes the other Sauber. And now it's Sauber and Sauber T-bone steak. 10-second penalty, severe collision. How is he supposed to? Doesn't matter. Safety car is out with lap 29. This is going to be interesting. This is all. Does Jensen come into the pits? Jensen's going to come into the pits. Does anybody take the gamble and stay out? Track position over Jensen Randall. We're probably. Oh nope, they're coming in. Who's staying out? Oh, Andrea Latrella. There we go. There's my man. Andrea Latrella going to stay out, take the track position, because we're probably going to go back to green flag racing with only 2 or 3 laps. Andrea Latrella going to try and go back-to-back wins if he can, but he's also got timing penalties hanging over his head. Things have getting shaken up here. So Alex Benarichetti, we saw him getting out of the way of the oncoming leaders, did a little bit of yard work, gets back on the track, tries to put the power down, loses control of the car, And then Noel Rosa Ibiza unfortunately comes along and T-bones the crap out of him. And the game gave him a 10-second penalty for a severe collision. Now, I don't know if that's because the game feels like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm not going to lie. Does the game dictate or make a calculated estimate? Another 3-second timing penalty for Oleski. I'm done counting his. That's 15 seconds. You might as well finish last at this end of this race, Oleski. I don't know what you got going on, buddy. But the 10-second penalty on Noel for the severe collision is I don't know if they feel like Noel had enough time to make the decision to not hit him or slow down and get around the car without incident. Maybe Noel was just frustrated and wanted to end his day as well, and it didn't work out that way. Max Mulder with another 3-second timing penalty. So Andrea Latrella, the only driver realistically up front that decided to try and stay out and go with the track position. But Jensen Randall, I imagine he put on a set of softs. Oh, yeah, look at all these drivers on softs. Whew. Jensen Randall, Tim Ventig, Jesper Lempinen. Sam Brandt stayed out as well to try and capitalize. Now, that moved him up into 5th, and you got Sandro on softs. Oleski, Oleski's on softs. I'm not even worried about where he finishes because he's got 15 seconds worth of penalties. It's going to be a crap show for Oleski at the end of this race. George Wilkes has stayed out. He's going to get a little bit of position. Noel Rosa Ibiza, despite the contact with his teammate, he's going to come back out in 9th position. Dion Stahl is in 10th. Nick Van Gelder never could get around Dion Stahl, but Nick does not have any timing penalties. This is going to be so crucial. And realistically, I forget how the game works, but I'm pretty sure that the safety car has to come in this lap to give at least 2 green flag laps of racing. I'm pretty sure that's how it coded. I know Sam Brandt and I talked about that a couple of races ago when Sam was out and there was a late race safety car. So this is going to be a very interesting, and there it is, safety car in this lap. So we'll go back to racing. We'll have 2 green flag laps. So it's going to be a 2-lap shootout for the end of this race. We've got drivers with 3-second time penalties. We've got drivers that have accumulated 5 3-second time penalties. Oleski, not mentioning any names. We've got drivers that have drive-through penalties, 10-second penalties. So the finishing order of this race is going to be absolutely chaotic when it comes to these timing penalties. This is one of the worst races I've seen as far as timing penalties go. And a lot of it has to do with this little chicane right here. Andrea Latrella going to try and catch Jensen Randall napping, and that's not going to happen. Not a great restart for Latrella. He is going to try and cover that inside line. Here comes Jensen Randall, and he's back out to the lead. So there you go. Battle for second is on. That's Tim Ventic, one of the few drivers that does not have a timing penalty, and he is going to get around Andrea Latrella on those old hards. So Tim Ventic up into second, and he's going to try and, well, if he can stay within 3 seconds, Tim Ventic could walk away with this win. If he doesn't get a timing penalty, Jensen Randall has 3 seconds hanging over his head. So if he can stay in touch with Jensen, Tim Ventic can walk away with the win of this race. Meanwhile, Latrella is going to lose a spot out to Jesper Lempinen, his teammate, down this straightaway. Jesper Lempinen up into 3rd. Oh, and a 10-second penalty for, there you go, Noel Rosa Ibiza. What? Is that Nick Van Gelder? No. That's a very confusing penalty. Anyways, the battle for 3rd here, Sandro Julius and Jesper Lempinen. And Sandro does not have a timing penalty either. I'm sorry, that was Latrella that he just got around. So Jesper Lempinen is in danger of losing his podium finish to Sandro Julius because of timing penalties. Meanwhile, last lap of this race, Jensen Randall out in front to the tune of 1.6 seconds, but Tim Ventic, he's only got to stay in touch with Jensen Randall. And Jensen Randall just ran the fastest lap of this race at a 1:10.017. Caution flag flies in Sector 3. Looks like that's going to be for Max Mulder at the Wall of Champions. DRS is enabled. Jensen Randall doing his best to try and stretch that 3 seconds. It's 2.1. Tim Ventic needs to stay within 3 seconds of Jensen Randall to capitalize and get the win of this race as he slides the car coming out of that corner. He's going to lose a little bit of ground here. Jesper Lempinen closing the gap to Tim Ventic. It's now 2.5. Jensen Randall doing everything he can to try and stretch this lead. Can he get that 3 seconds? That magic 3-second mark comes out of the hairpin for one last time. It's 2.6. Tim Ventic trying to stay in touch, 2.5. Jesper Lempinen is coming with him. Jensen Randall down to the wall of champions, chicane. Jesper Lempinen gets around Tim Ventic, so that's going to cost him a tenth or two. It's going to be close here. Tim Ventic trying to stay in touch, 2.6, and Jensen Randall comes across the line. Tim Ventic comes across the line, and Tim Ventic cannot get the win. Jensen Randall, last lap, unbelievable drive by Jensen Randall to gap the field 3 seconds over Tim Ventic. Sandro Dulius is going to walk away with third. Look at that. Nick Van Gelder up into fifth. Dion Stahl sixth. Oleski drops back into the seventh position. Sam Brandt loses out on that just by a hair. And Jesper Lempinen. Did I see the unofficial results for Jesper Lempinen? Was that a podium finish for my man Jesper? And it looks that way. Unbelievable finish to this race. Jensen Randall gets driver of the day. He's obviously not for Ferrari. He's in a McLaren. Thank you, Codemasters. What a finish. I have got to hand it to Jensen Randall. As much as I get tired of seeing this guy winning, that one was well earned at the end of the day. To gap the field by that much, Tim Ventic was so close to getting that win. Lost a little bit of time at the Wall of Champions chicane. Tim did everything right. No timing penalties today. But Jensen Randall able to gap on the last lap a second to give him the win. Unbelievable. So let's take a look here. Things get really mixed up here. These are your unofficial results. I'm looking at Jensen Randall, Sandro Dulius, Jesper Lempinen, Nick Van Gelder. What happened to Tim? Why is Tim all the way down? I feel like things got a little messed up here. So, again, unofficial results. Jensen Randall, Sandro Dulius, Jesper Lempinen, Nick Van Gelder, Dion Stahl, Oleski, Sam Brandt, Andrea Latrella, George Wilkes, Robin Herderstagen walking away with a point. Noel Rosa Ibiza, Tim Ventic 12th, Ivan Brito, Max Mulder, and then I see Tim's got no timing penalties, so very, very unofficial results. Guys, you're going to have to go to Instagram at SRL_F1. Follow along for all of the news and notes leading into each week's race. Tune into that for any post-race penalties and the official results for today's race. I know a lot of things are going to get looked at the end of this race. Penalties that shouldn't have been given, penalties that can be taken away. So the finishing order is definitely going to swap it up a little bit. And I'm pretty sure Tim gets second place. Okay, I think the question is who gets third? Was that Jesper Lempinen? Was it Sandro Dulius? So Sandro saying he got the podium. But again, at SRL_F1 on Instagram. Like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. Follow us along. Follow us on Instagram for each week. News and notes heading into the race. What a day. What a race. I've got to go catch my breath. I got to figure out where these guys finished. Guys, I'm Kamikaze Fox. This has been SRL Season 10, Round 18? 17. Round 17, Canadian Grand Prix. So tune in next week for next week's race as the season winds down. We'll see everybody in the next round.